Okay, hello everybody. Today I'm going to attempt this for the second time. I tried this the other day and got a little bit caught in the weeds with a part of it, but what I'd like to do is to, from scratch, make a web app, and I'd like to kind of take you along that journey in quite like a transparent way. A little bit of background about myself. I'm a back-end Java developer. This is like my day-to-day. But I've been recently learning more about React and more front-end things. And so I think it'd be quite nice to do what I think is a relatively beginner style app. I've seen it suggested in some places just to do like a weather forecast app. So that's what I plan on doing. I plan on making it quite transparent in that I'm not going to be pretending what I do and don't know. I'll be quite upfront. I'll be using tools. I'll be Googling stuff. I'll be using ChatGPT. I'll be, looking at docs. I'll try and trim, some things out to make it a little bit more kind of like time manageable. But the idea is that this is kind of like the experience that a developer would go through and is going to go through when making a web app like this. Okay, so with that in mind, let's jump straight into the code here. What I've done here, just for the sake of getting us going, is this is a completely new create React app, React application, and there's no change to, as you can see here. We were looking at the default kind of spinning thing. The only thing I have done in preparation is create this method. Just because when I tried to do it before, I spent a lot of time like messing around with this, and it would have been sort of 20-30 minutes of me figuring how to do this. And in all honesty, I used ChatGPT to generate this after a couple of prompts and some kind of code that I had before and make it a little bit more readable. But all this is a function that is going to hit the API of choice here, which is the weather API here. With the key, which I have stored away in this M file, and the city, London, Paris, whatever. And my vision for what the page is going to look like, a text box that says city, and you input the city, click a button, and then there'll be a large rectangle with like rounded corners underneath, and then there'll be three smaller ones which have the 3 days, like today, tomorrow, the day after. 3 because that's the constraint on the API. It only allows for 3 days on the free version. Excuse me. And so I'd like in those 3 days to have some key information about the day. So maybe it will say, today, tomorrow, the day after. Maybe it will say the average temperature. Maybe it'll say the high, the low, something like that to start with. And then maybe further on, it'd be quite nice if there was a photo, depicting if it's raining, a little rain cloud, if it's sunny, something like that. So let's go ahead, and I think I'll be using Bootstrap, specifically React Bootstrap for a bunch of this. So let's start by going to here and removing all of this stuff, and just as a little bit of a sanity check, something like this. You will notice a lot during this as well that I'll hit the wrong I'll hit command when I'm in control, or this kind of things, because on my day-to-day I work on a Mac. My personal computer, what I'm using now, is a PC, is Windows, and I have a keychron, and for some reason I just can't get it under my fingers with control, with command and all that kind of stuff. So you'll see a lot me hitting this and opening up stuff, or things like that. Okay, so let's remove these. And we should just see hello world here. Perfect. So let's start off saying we'll put this as a header, as a H1, and we'll call this weather forecast. What I would love as well is any suggestions on this. What I'm going to be doing is uploading this to a Git repo, and that's going to be in the description. Any comments, any suggestions, specifically on coding practices, but tools. I see a lot of things about like Next.js, which I'm not too sure what exactly that is, and Tailwind and things. Like we won't be using Tailwind here, and I haven't used it. So any suggestions would be absolutely great. Okay, so next I think we should have the div, which is going to have a class name, and this is going to be like the container. Well, I think we should give it maybe forecast container, something like that, which is going to have the it's going to house the 3 individual like forecasts. I guess above this will be the form. It'll be where you input the data. So let's see how we would do that using React with a form. Okay, so they have an example here with a form. Control ID, email address. Okay, I'm gonna steal this. Okay, and I'm gonna go here and remove a bunch of the stuff that we don't need. So form groups, I'm assuming we will need. MB3 must be some default styling, like there must be a default class name for that. Control ID, I'm not sure what that is, so let's take a look. Control ID. Accessibility. Okay, great. So we'll make it something. Form basic email. This is going to be form weather. Form weather. I don't think. Oh, do I have these things? I don't have these things. So for this, I need to import them. Okay, so it looks like we have these installed now, and I should just be able to bring them in. Great. This. It's just loading up a new version. Okay, so we have this form. We won't need this form group. Something like that. But we will need a button for submit, so let's add that. So we had this class name. MB3, we should look into that, what that is. I'm assuming it's just some styling. And the label. So what exactly is the label? What is this? Oh, it's not. Nothing's coming up on the screen because I haven't saved it. So let's see what this looks like, because I wonder if this is needed. So email address. So if I change this to something else, what does that look like? Okay, so it's that. So this will be city. I'd like for these to be on top of one another, rather than next to each other. I think I can change that with adding a class name and changing the CSS. I think I will do that. So this will be the let's just call it form weather. I'm unsure if there's a convention here with something like the casing. If you do know that, please do let me know, and I will pop it in here. I don't think we're using any of this. We're using app header and we're using app because I believe that's here and here. But everything else I think we can remove. And we want to add a form weather. And my understanding is that you can do display flex and do flex direction column. I think that should make these all, land on top of one another. We don't need this. Oops. So what does that look like? City. Okay, great. It doesn't look great at the minute. But let's, for now, it would be great if this was a little bit higher as well, but we can change that. Maybe wrap it all in a div and move it up. So what happens when I click this submit button? At the minute, nothing, because there's no on click. So let's make one. And let's just make it output the whatever's typed in here. Type. What's this type? This is something that I need to take a look at. Form controls. Okay, so there's a type here for email, but there isn't a type here. So what if, because I don't want it to be an email here, I just want it to be some text, and say enter your city here. Okay, and then the button. So I know this is Bootstrap, I believe. Type submit, and this will be handle. So there's a bit of a temptation for me just to put handle click and then make make that. But I'll call it handle form submit. I think that's better, and I believe then I should make a function. A function, and I'd like to pass in, just save that, I'd like to pass into it what's typed in, so the city. So I think I need to do this as an arrow function now. Like this. But I'm not sure what is passed in here. If you understand what I'm saying, I wonder what the parameter is here. Like, how do we get a hold of what's in the form? Select. What did this? So it had a submit. Oops. And then so it said the form submit. Where does that go? Okay. Form controls. Select. Oh, okay, so that's like selecting individual things. Okay, I'm not 100% how to do this, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, oops, I'm just going to delete it. I'm going to take this and I'm going to say I have a React.js app here and I'd like to handle the button click on the form to print the value in the form to the console. Please complete this code snippet. So, because what I want to do is have it here and up here, but there might be something that I'm not. Okay, so rather than passing it in, there's some state that's going to be changed. Okay, so on change. So really I want on change. Okay, I'd like the value to be the city, and on change in here I'd really like for it to set the city. Oh yeah, that's what it's doing there, okay. And then handle the form input. Okay, perfect. So we need to take this snippet. So that was in the form control? Yeah, that was in form control. So let's put it here. And we're going to make ourselves some state called city. Set city. Forgot the const. Use state. If there are any useful shortcuts as well, because I found myself writing a lot more code when I'm doing React than when I use Java. Than when I write code in Java. I find, because I use IntelliJ for Java, I find myself using those tools a lot more, like refactoring tools and things, rather than actually kind of. So say like this, it'd be great if I could just click a couple of buttons and it'll ask me what I want the variable name to be, and it'll just create it, you know. So we'll use state and we'll set it equal to just an empty string to start with. I believe that's the way. Great. And what we'll do is handle the input change to start with. And that is going to be with this city. So I would have thought here I would have had to pass in the city here. But I'm going to see how this is suggested to do. It says, okay, so it has a React change event. That's the thing that's passed in. Okay, great. So that's what's kind of passed in by default, I guess. So that's this. And we're going to set the city to be the e.target.something. Target.value. Great. And so that should mean that every time we type, you know, we click the next letter, it should be making this city state update every time, which is great. And then, so then we want to handle this form submit. And in fact, there'll be no parameters to pass in. What we'll do is make a new function. And it's just going to console log the city. Now, as always, that's going to work first time. So let's take a look at the console. I'm not sure why it's on this side. Oops. Can I not move it over here? Okay, it's here for now. And, oops. It's here for now, so if I was to put something like London and submit. Oh, okay, so I think this is reloading the page. It does pop up there. And I guess that's where this prevent default comes in. Prevent. So I didn't want to add it because I didn't just want to add something that I didn't understand, but I guess I've seen this done previously, and it's normally done to stop the it looks like a forced refresh. and it was on the hand. So they've got it on the handle form submit. Okay, great, because we just got them the other way around. So if I were to do this, I guess it does kind of make sense that when you submit a form. Okay, so I guess now I need to pass in. Is it going to be the same type of event? No, it's a form event. I guess it does make sense when you have a form and you fill it out. You click submit. You shouldn't really care about what's in it, because I guess then you get brought to a success screen or something like that. So that makes a lot of sense. So we have city, London. Great, and we can do that as many times as we want. Paris. Great. Okay, so now we have this. What we want to do is make this go and hit the endpoint that we had. So that is, I think it's probably a good idea to git commit here. So here we have the add basic form. This will do. Great. Okay, so let's think about the next thing that I want to add. Yes, it was the getting of the weather forecast, which is here, and I guess specifically getting the things that we care about, right? So this at the minute is just going to give back everything. I wonder if it's better to make something like this, like the weather forecast. And have it have so each individual weather forecast would have, say, an average temperature, a maximum temperature, and a lowest temperature, and this should return a list of those. I think that so would this be a number? I think it should be a number. And then we'd also have a minimum temperature and an average temperature. Okay, so then I'd like for this to be returned as a list of these. Great. Okay, so then on the response object, so this is the const response. Here, I wonder if I spelled that wrong. I wonder if we can extract those individual things. Block scope for response. Oh, it's already here. Okay, so I don't like doing this right now, but I'm going to see how the code looks and then refactor afterwards. What I want to do is I want to extract those three things from the JSON object, and I think it's going to be max temp, min temp, average temp. But what might be best is if I make it print out to the console first. So we'll still have this response as not as before, and in fact we'll just return it to what it was before. Was it any? Oops. I'm not sure what I had it as before. I'm going to add just a promise of any. And I'm going to make it print out to the console, and then we'll come back and finish this idea. So what we want it to do is to, when I hit form submit, we're going to hit this. This is going to be a const weather forecast. And then I'd like to console log that out. I guess I need to bring this in. All looks good. Okay, so now if I go to my React app and I click London, get the promise fulfilled. Okay, here we go. And so we have a forecast. Okay, so within the promise is the result, with the promise result. And within that, there's a forecast. And then within that, there's forecast days. And you get these three. And so I guess I would loop over those. So, okay. So, if I understand correctly, it should be forecast days from here. I'm really not confident with that, but let's... How would I access this? Oops. Whoa. So we've got this response, body, forecast. I guess it's not. Okay, so we have this response here that comes back, and if I grab the body, I guess that's this. Is that this? Excuse me. Okay, so how do I access forecast days? Forecast days. Can I not? Can I not access it like this? And then stuff in there, key in here. How about I just ask ChatGPT? Okay, so I have this. Oops. Rather than returning the whole response, I'd like to only return 3 fields per object. The body of this request I wonder, does it know if I give it this? I don't think so. So what did the body look like again? Promise result, okay. On console logging out, the promise return looked like, and then we have forecast days. Which is a list of 3 forecasts. Each of these forecasts contains It was max temp. Let's just use Celsius. So max, min, average, and that I would like to be extracted. Let's see what this says here. So I feel like it's going to be something quite simple here on this, just here, and then mapping it to this weather forecast object. Let's see what they do. You can transform the received data. Okay, so yeah, just okay, great. So it's understood the idea that we want to give this list here. Okay, so it's done in a second one, and if the data is here, then okay. So if forecast and forecast days, okay. We could add this. I guess we're quite confident that it's already there. So we could remove this if. We're going to map data forecast to this. I'm going to steal this and change it a little bit. So to chain onto this. I guess that looks nice. And then if I remove this, do you know what? I shouldn't remove that because it will tell me if I'm looking in the right place. So return. Oh yeah, and I need to make this like this. Let's see what this looks like. Promise. Oh, fantastic! It's exactly what we want. It never just happens, does it? It never just works like that. Okay, great. So we have our things here. We have what we need. I think that then it should be stored in some state. So let's keep that the way it is with this check, because why not? So now I think what we want to have is some more state, and we'll call it weather forecast. Set the weather forecast. And this is going to be some state again. Now, it's going to be this interface, and I'm just going to copy it over. I wonder if there's a better way to do this. I think before what I've done is just move it all into like an interfaces class or interfaces file. But I don't know if that's the right way. Please, somebody do let me know. So this is going to be a list of and we're just going to have an empty list to start with. And then we're going to say, okay, when the weather forecast comes back, set it to be the weather forecast that's just come in. Okay, so let's have a look. Okay, so I actually don't want it to be a promise. I want it to be this. So I wonder if I can do this. The return promise any weather forecast length. Okay, so where are the returns? There's a return here and a... So here before it was kind of making a promise to package up, so I think this is fine. This is to here. Okay, so type promise any, which is a little strange because I'm not trying to return that, but type promise any is missing the following properties. Okay, so I guess it is still returning a promise any. Is there like a wait or something like that? Like an await? No, wait, a resolve, sorry. Let's do what we like to do here. So here, I'd like to return the object list rather than a promise. And I think to make this a little easier, we should leave that in there. Okay, so if you like to avoid doing it, you've got to do it as an async function. Okay, that's fine. It still returns a promise though. Okay, I see. So you would await like this. Oh, so really I'm just adding this keyword here. I see. I think this is some of my lack of understanding of async and async await and promises and things like that. What I do understand is that async and await are just syntactic sugar for promise, which for if you don't know what that means, it's basically that it's just not adding any functionality. It's just nicer syntax, different syntax to use. So they were saying to say await here. Await expressions are only allowed. Did you mean? So I thought that's all I needed. Let me check this again. Okay. Await. So we have an async here. Oh, does it want to make the app itself async? Oh, it's the function that calls it. Okay, that makes sense. I guess I didn't see that here. Great. Okay, so now we have this weather forecast that is going to be updated whenever we click the button, and let's display it. So let's say in this div, let's just make another div inside it for the time being, and we'll say if the weather forecast is there. I think this is how you put it. On the right track. That's always good to know. You can't put it directly into JS. You have to loop over it. Okay, that makes sense. How is he looping over it? Because I thought I had that before, but it wasn't looping. Oh, okay, so they've given. This is good. They've given it in a nicer way here. So let's use this. So I believe this is saying, okay, within this container, if the weather forecast length is greater than 0, i.e. it's not this, so it's been set. If it's been set, map over it for the forecast and the index with a key, which is good, and print out these things. Let's put the little degrees C as well, which is nice. If not, it'll say no forecast available. That's cool. So if I do that, okay, we need to do something about that. You can't just submit. Anyway, a bit of stress testing there. Just a bit of user testing. So if I split London, that's great. That's perfect. What I wanted it is for this one to be here, this one to be in the middle, this one to be on the right. So how do I go ahead and do that? I think the forecast container, does that have any CSS yet? It doesn't. And I've just noticed I'm using different casing here, and I did say before I wasn't sure what the correct casing is. I do know you should probably keep consistent, so I'll just change this real quick there. And again, I'm going to do flex, but I'm going to have a row here. Although I do think that that's the default. I'll just be explicit here. That's great, but we'd want. Well, I think we've done this the wrong way around. Like, we don't want these to be horizontal. We want these to still be. Oh wait, no, that's correct, isn't it? These are all max temps. Okay, great. What if I add a little bit of space between them? Or first, if I had a border just to see what I'm looking at, make it a black border, 1 pixel solid. Okay, so it's like what is that the whole thing? Or is that being cancelled out? I think it's all one thing. Let's take a look here. Yeah, because that's the whole container, isn't it? We want to make these have a class name of forecast. And if I was to make a forecast here and make that have a border just so I can see where all the lines are, and then make it red. Great. Okay, so we can see these. So the forecast container, I think is it padding when it's the inside? Yeah, so that's adding some to the inside, so that's good. Now, I'd like the width to be longer and there to be space between these. But I wonder if I can just do that by adding padding to these. So padding, say, 10 pixels again. Oh, that's adding on the inside of that, so I guess I don't want padding. I want the other one, which I can't remember the name of unless it's used somewhere. CSS padding and margin, that's it. I'm going to add margin, 10 pixels. Okay, that's like that. And what I will do, I'd like to add, today, tomorrow, the day after here. So let's move this down. But I think for now, actually, I'm looking at this. I'm quite happy with this. Let's have a play around with other ones. Okay, London. That's great. If I remove the... Oh, actually, I think what would be cool is if these borders were here, they were like rounded, but maybe that's for another time. But for right now, I'm going to remove the border here and remove this. Great. And I think I need a today, a tomorrow, and the day after. What is the best way to go about doing this? Because it's within this map, isn't it? If I was to just put, say, a paragraph tag with today, oh, it all needs to be within a single. I guess I could just add it here. Actually, do you know, I'll add it within a React fragment here, because I'd like for the day to be slightly different. What if I made it a h2 tag? What does that look like? Not very good, because it's to the side of it. I wanted it on top. So I think what's happened is that this is one thing, this is another thing. These are separate things. So you've got 6 things here that are being displayed with flex row. And so I want, because it's not within this, I guess I can just add that there. I was saying before I wanted it different. I wanted this tag so I could add the HT, but it doesn't make any difference, does it? So let's add that there. Today, but we don't want today. We want today, tomorrow, the day after, or a date, which would be good. What if I can get a hold of that? Actually, is there a date? There is a date. That's great. Okay, so that means we'll have to change this to have a date, and that I think that's going to be a string. I'm not 100%, but let's have a look. Date, and I should have really checked before, but I'm assuming forecast days. Oops, I'm assuming forecast days. Let's see, day. This looks really weird now I'm looking at it, but is it just date? I'll be shocked if this just works. The forecast date. Oh yeah. See, this is the issue that I was saying before, right? Because I've got this defined in multiple places. Oops, that should be okay. Great. Data should be date. That doesn't look great, does it? Day, date. Okay, yeah, there isn't anything there. Wait, what if I submit again? Undefined. Yeah, okay, so I'm definitely looking in the wrong place for the date. So the dates are forecast day. Okay, so it's not in this day here. It's one higher than day. I don't really understand this day thing. I guess, okay. Maybe there's a better name for this, because that was confusing there. I can see now how we're here, right? And then, good day, and then into here. Maybe forecast day? Maybe that would be better. Surely there's a nicer way, but it's enough. It's good enough. Okay. So now, what will this look like? Oh, great. So we have a date. That's perfect. I think I would like a border around it, perhaps. So let's add that border back in. Yeah, let's make it a white one. Is it rounding? Radius, that's it. I have no idea the kind of scale on this. So what does 10 pixels look like? It looks really nice. I think I'd like some padding as well. I'm really happy with how this has turned out, I was really struggling the first time, so I think the functionality is all here. So currently I'm in Manchester, and it gives the today's date, tomorrow, and the day after. Obviously we could change how these look, but yeah, I'm really pleased with that. So yeah, if there are any suggestions on this, I will make a git commit. I will make a git commit to the repo and share it. If there are any suggestions, please do let me know, because this is a learning experience for me, and I'd really appreciate any feedback on this. And I hope that was at least interesting for you to see how a developer would go about creating something like this, and the kind of the tools, relying a bit on ChatGPT and the docs and a bit of investigation things. So hopefully see you in the next video.